Salve, salve, Maestro here, and today we are back with another Wiki Free campaign, and this time we'll be playing as Russia. So before we start, I want to say two things about this and future Wiki Free gameplays. Since we already did a modded and a optimal run as Brazil, at least I tried to play in the most optimal way, I won't be doing that again. So in the future, I'll do more of a role-playing style of campaign. So like if I play as United States, I won't try to colonize all of Africa and this type of thing. And also, I won't be using any mods, at least by now. I'm actually using one, but it's to performance issue. I'm gonna put it on the screen. And it claims to improve performance by 30% without removing some of the flavor of the game, because a lot of the performance mods they just convert everyone to the same culture and then the performance is beautiful, but it takes away some of the in-game features. So what this mod try to do is decrease the amount of calculations that the AI needs to make. And on top of that, I'm also putting something that I like and I think it make more sense, is that to allow assimilation of pops that are into their homelands. So with that said, let's start the campaign. So as Russia, I think the two best states to start it is Perm and Kherson. Although there are great states like Ural or Tomsk that have some pretty good resources and good state traits, but they are unincorporated and have a lower population. So probably I will start building up with Perm and Kherson, and then we'll move to Tomsk or Ural. So I'm gonna be maxing out the construction sector on both of these states, moving the production method to iron frame buildings. I'm gonna also build a 3 to 4 government administration in order to remove the debuff from tax waste, and build some iron mines in both of these states in order to keep up with the demands of the construction sector. This one will actually need some logging camps too. Technology wise, it's basic, just go for stock exchange. Talking about the finance, I increased the taxation level to high taxes and government wages to very high, but I will remove this because I just wanted to remove this penalty here and get a little bit of authority. And talking about it, I put a lot of decrease here of road maintenance in the places that we are going to be building and places that needed some market access, promote social mobility in the two most populated states, and encouraging resource industry in the place that produce iron and wood. I also put it the Tomsk state to be incorporated since we are gonna be getting more bureaucracy from the government administration buildings that we are trying to build. Talking about diplomacy, I'm improving relations with my subjects here and with the great powers that I want to get an alliance with, like France and Austria, but also trying to keep the relations positive with the Great Britain to make it easier my expansion here on the eastern area. And I also declared rivalries against Spain, Netherlands, and Sweden. The beginning of the Russian game is very straightforward. You just grab your army and invade all this region here. So I'm doing some army changes here because I want an army with 60 that has 3 generals. And why this is? Well, I don't want to waste a lot of cash into mobilization. So what I prefer to do is concentrate the army in one battalion that is enough to defeat everyone here, including Persia, of course, and then put as much generals as I can, because if I have only one general here, I'll be able to have one battle at a time. If I have three, which is the case, I'm going to be able to have 3 battles at a time, which of course is going to lead to a quicker conquest of Persia, as an example. Now, as the war with Persia is happening, I will start to also decrease the autonomy of my subject, because I want to take control of this place as quick as possible before the Great Britain and the British East India can get them. And something I began to do is to interpolate between iron mines and construction sectors, because I'm already struggling a little bit with iron. I have a lack in my market, not anymore because I imported some, but I thought it was a better idea to make one, then another one, another, and you understand it, you got it. And we made everything we wanted with Persia. I didn't continue to declare on like Orta Zeus because I wanted this army to get dismantled because you can see they consume 10k of upkeep. So I just wanted to finish this war and then I will use only my secondary army. So I enacted dedicated police force because the gentry assembly wanted me to do it, but I was waiting it for pass because now I'm gonna try something because before starting recording, I tried a run with Russia to see if the old strategy of Russia would still work. But now with political movements and how the leader can or not abdicate its throne, it's harder to get the market liberal here, the Alexander Romanov, in power. So what I tried to do in that run was to pass homesteading because this would make the gentry assembly mad and then I would be able to remove Tsar Nikolai Romanov. But what's interesting is that although I couldn't make it because the system has changed, I managed to pass homesteading. So what I'm gonna be doing is a bet that now that I've established my control over this area, it's just a matter of time before I can decrease these protectorates into puppets, and then I can continue to invade these areas here. So in this meantime, I'm gonna be removing all the generals from the gentry assembly that, of course, won't support the end of serfdom and won't support homesteading to decrease their power and see if I can actually pass it. And if you've noticed, I am actually bolstering the peasant movement since the beginning of the game for that reason. So let me try this. If we make it, it will be very huge, although I am not certain how much this will be good, because in a lot of times we can get a market liberal in the leadership of gentry assembly, so removing the power from the gentry assembly will effectively remove our potential to get a market liberal and ended up passing a laissez-faire or free trade. While passing homesteading, I will increase the power of the rural folk, which is always against these economic policies. But I'll try and see what happens. And we did it. It was much harder than in my test run, but still we managed, like, against all the odds you saw, it was 33, I think, percent against 65 something, but we managed to do, and we already can see how they've dropped the clout of the gentry assembly, and probably the rural folk will jump. It already started to jump a little bit, but it will probably go even higher. The intelligence increased. Even the petit bourgeoisie increased, which is strange. Even the Orthodox Church increased their clout. But what's important is that the gentry assembly is now decreasing, and this number will keep dropping from my experience. So very, very nice. And seriously, now that the gentry assembly is kind of mad at me and also the Orthodox Church, I think I'm gonna go for legal guardianship because seriously, we have 13 million peasants and a half a million unemployed. Like, we literally don't need the woman to be in the workplace. We're talking about only in game purpose, okay, guys? But I would go for it to improve their approval and remove those debuffs. Although I'm probably gonna lose the intelligentsia bonus, which is migration attraction, which doesn't change anything for us, so I think it's fine. And now that we are done with our legislation by now, I think it's safe to go for some vassals here in South America. Although I know this is very ahistorical, but we need those tropical goods such as rubber in the late game. So until the trade update come in, it's mandatory for any country to have some colony or some protectorate or some land in this area here of the equator. And we completed the specification of the steps journal entry. And let's see what they got for us, which will annex this guy and receive a claim on these areas. Okay, so I didn't need it to make a puppet out of these people, right? I would just have a claim. Very sad that I didn't knew it before because now I'm gonna waste some infamy on it. So even though I already have this area, I'm gonna get it just because of the claim here into Comenia. So I think I'm gonna be the only one able to colonize it. And because this turmoil and radicals, I literally doesn't care because it's only on those states and they are very small. And before that, we won our war against Bolivia. Was our first war in the South American region. I just didn't show it because they backed down. And now we are at war with Oman because Persia wanted to annex this province here. And okay, we've passed the legal guardianship, like I only want this birth rate and decrease the number of peasants that already decreased, like it was 15 million, I think. So it already decreased by 2 million unemployed decrease. So it's okay. And we increased the approval of the Orthodox Church and the Gentry Assembly. Like now they only need to increase one more and we will remove this debuff of authority, and the Orthodox Church are actually giving us some authority. So very nice. And like it will take a while for me to get public schools or public health insurance because I need to have some research or remove state religion. But although any education system or health system is great, I will not pass religious school or charity hospitals because the Orthodox Church is already very powerful here, almost 40% of the cloud, and this will only increase. So I will wait for them to decrease a little bit or to unlock the other legislation. Now, something that I'm gonna try to do is put the petit bourgeoisie into the government. Like we're not gonna drop to an acceptable government, and they support elected bureaucrats. They also support this different taxation, but I do not have it unlocked because of the traditionalism economic system. But with them, we can move to appointed bureaucrats or elected bureaucrats. Although elected bureaucrats, I can't because of oligarchy, no, autocracy that I have. But I can go for appointed bureaucrats. And this is good because it's going to increase the intelligentsia. It's going to increase our taxation capacity, which I am in need, and remove the plus 25 political strength for aristocrats. And we got appointed bureaucrats. We already can see the effect on our balance because the deficit was much greater. It was kind of like 6K. Now it is only close to 20K. But I didn't see a decrease on our bureaucracy. Maybe it's just a matter of tick. Yes, of course, was a matter of tick. And we already can see the drop on the gentry assembly clout, which is decreasing. But with that, the intelligentsia probably yes, of course, because part of the aristocracy was gonna be from the intelligentsia. Yeah, almost 20% of them are from the intelligentsia. Of course, the major part is from the gentry assembly. But the cool thing about it is that the industrialists are now getting more and more powerful, which we want them to get as quick as possible in order to liberalize our country. So nothing very major is happening right now. Like I just conquered some land here on the Central Asia. I'm fighting some revolutions. I'm stabilizing my market, and now almost every good is on fair prices. But something interesting that happened is that our balance used to be red. And this is a great opportunity to talk about something that I think most of people knows, but not everyone, that this balance here stays red when either your fixed national expenses are bigger than your national revenue. So it basically disconsider the temporary national expenses, which are construction goods, or when your debt is bigger than half of your credit limit, which in this case is 56.7 million. And since the beginning of the game, I'm running on a deficit, you can see here. So why it stopped being red and now it's white again? Well, basically, it was red because my debt was bigger than half of my credit limit. But since the beginning of the game, my GDP is growing a lot. So when my GDP grows, my credit limit also grows. So what's happening is that my GDP, and as such my credit limit, is growing faster than my debt. So now we get to the point where my debt is no longer more than 50%. So a very cool thing to explain because not everyone understand how good or bad is exactly to be running a positive balance or a negative balance. And finally, after all the time for the truth to come out, I think it was 10 years, I annexed those regions here of Circassia, and now it's just a matter of time before the turmoil tick down and we can end these Caucasian wars. So now we have this event here of devout scandal, which, if I'm not mistaken, yes, we can take away the leadership of the Orthodox Church, which is pretty huge because they are almost the only one that I can put here in the government, and they have a huge cloud. And nowadays, everyone is being affected by the liberal movement, which means that they can have a Democrat leadership. And by having a Democrat leadership, we'll be able to pass another law like landed voting, census suffrage, which I need a lot here to put more interest groups into the government. Yes, we have it. It's a Democrat, as I said. So now let's see which law I can pass, and I think it's all of them. Oh, I can have universal suffrage in 1860. Oh, like this will radicalize the gentry assembly, but it's not that much. Okay, the absolutist movement will get militant, but I think it's not enough. And we have the liberal movement supporting it. I think we'll be able to pass universal suffrage as Russia before 1860. And as you might have guessed, yeah, I couldn't go for universal suffrage. A revolution would spawn with the gentry assembly and the armored forces, and since the Gentry Assembly was on a revolutionary side, they would come out of the government and make it illegitimate. But okay, we managed to have an election finally, and now we'll be able to remodel our government because I was very limited to Orthodox Church, Gentry Assembly, Petit Bourgeoisie, or armed forces, but I wanted intelligentsia, the rural folk, the industrialists, and those interest groups. Now I'm gonna be able to do that. An election come out, and the top party is the one with the petit bourgeoisie and the industrialists. And as you can see, the industrialists support market liberal, the petit bourgeoisie support market liberal, even the intelligentsia have a market liberal on the leadership. So if we add the clout of those three, I think it's almost half or 40%. So with that, we are probably gonna be able to pass laissez-faire, which is something that I wanted since the beginning of the game. So this event here fired the illness of Nikolai Romanov. I think this happened because we have a illegitimate government, and now we can literally kill him. Look nice, because who is gonna get into power is his son, which is a market liberal. And with that, maybe we could put him at the leadership of the Gentry Assembly. So I'm just gonna kill him. Ooh, we get some bonus here because of the Alexander Romanov. So more market liberals will spawn. We'll get bureaucracy, political strength for aristocrats. Ooh, big L here. And some journal entries, which is nice. And probably some of them I already haven't completed. No, this doesn't make sense because this great reform here, I can't have it for homesteading. Like, what's the meaning of that? If I have homesteading, I ended serfdom, you know? Homesteading is literally the emancipation of the peasants. So why isn't it here? This guy here literally went out of the country like 3 years ago because there was nothing for him to support, and now he's wanting to coming back. So I'm gonna be pretty honest with you all. I said this great reform, peasant reform, is bullshit. So since probably I'm gonna pass laissez-faire in the last tick, and then it would be completed if it was not because of these tenant farmers or commercialized agriculture. So I added this line in the code because this is completely nonsense. Like, this reform technically should make the peasants free, but they would do that by tenant farmers or commercialized agriculture that although the peasants actually become free now, they are free to move around, but this just doesn't make sense. Like, this should be every other uh, land reform that is not certain should be eligible for this to pass, this great reform to pass. And since I don't want to move away from homesteading, I won't be restarting this run. And I wanted to see those events because of flavor, and I've never completed them. So I just added this because this is completely bullshit for not being on the base game. And boom, as I said, laissez-faire now, and we'll probably be able to complete this. Yes, just one tick to go. And I have a lot of important laws to pass here, but since I promised to the intelligentsia to free trade, I'm gonna go for it next. And we can easily see how huge is the effect from moving away from traditionalism to laissez-faire just in the investment pool. Like, look at how it quickly rises. Man, this guy is again trying to enter the country. Like, what the fuck this guy is doing, man? Like, no, I won't let he get in. I think I've never had such great improvement as I'm having right now. Like, everyone except the rural folk is plus 10 or more. Man, I'm doing plus 2.2% as Russia increase in population. Like, almost 2 million pops. This is crazy, dude. So after all this time, I will go back and return with the invasions here in Central Asia because it's kind of strange. The Great Game journal entry hasn't spawned yet. I thought it was like since the beginning or close to the beginning. So I'll just affirm my position here in order to, when it comes, I will almost already win it. And we got another reform done because I've enacted proportional taxation. So we just need to get mass conscription and these munition plants to tier 3 in order to get this event, the Great Reformer. And now what I'm gonna do is that I need to remove this state religion here because I need it to pass public schools. My literacy, it's already stagnated. And basically I need to remove this Orthodox Church from power. So what I'm gonna do is there is this agitator here that's from the armed forces, and he supports total separation and state atheism. So what I'm gonna do is invite him and put him on leadership of the armed forces because I can due to this modernization movement. And with his support, I'm gonna try to pass state atheism. So why state atheism? Basically, I could go for total separation, of course. This is actually the best one. But as I said in the beginning of the video, I want to go for a more role-playing style game. So since we want to form the USSR in the end, I think it would be cooler for us to go for state atheism. Although, historically speaking, this is not accurate because religion was still a strong thing in Russia during the USSR. You just need to take a look at how religious is the Russian society nowadays. Not only Russian, but all this Eastern Europe society. So in practice, people had the freedom to exercise their religious belief in the USSR, although technically speaking, the state was atheist. So I'll try to reflect that. Man, I'm being seriously, like I was watching this war here, seeing if I could get some war goals, and I pressed ask in order to get out of this page. But what happened is that atheism was actually enacted. So basically, the Orthodox Church just doesn't exist anymore. Like, they lost everything they had. Damn, boy, we did it. The bad part about it, it's because it's probably gonna create a lot of radicals because a lot of people will get marginalized because of the acceptance, since most of the people, oh, actually, a lot of them converted already, but most of the people was kind of like 96% of the political force was Orthodox. But something kind of strange is that a lot of these people actually increased their acceptance because in the state religion, you get minus 25 acceptance from religion, while in atheism, it's only minus 10. So they increased their acceptance by 15. And since we did it very early in the game, probably we're going to be able to see a very white Russia in this run. So guys, I think the video is already long enough. As I said, I will try to make quicker runs without explaining a lot of things. And run after run, I will explain less and less things because I've already explained that before. So I hope you liked the episode. Comment, like, subscribe, and I see you next time.